Before we imagine a world of change, we must first understand the world that existed. In the early 16th century, much of central Mexico was ruled by a powerful and sophisticated civilization. We call them the Aztecs, but they called themselves the Mexica. Their empire was a complex web of city-states, all paying tribute to the magnificent capital city, Tenochtitlan. This city was an engineering marvel, built on an island in the middle of a lake. It was a bustling metropolis, larger than any European city of its time. Canals served as streets, and massive pyramids and temples reached toward the sky, testaments to the power of their gods and their rulers. The Aztecs were brilliant engineers, farmers, and astronomers. They built intricate aqueducts to bring fresh water into their island city. They created floating gardens, called chinampas, which were incredibly productive and fed a massive population. Their understanding of the stars and the calendar was precise, guiding both their agricultural cycles and their religious ceremonies. This was not a simple or primitive society. It was a vibrant, organized, and deeply spiritual world. Their society was built on a foundation of corn, tribute, and a profound connection to the cosmic forces they believed governed existence, from the sun's daily journey to the rain that nourished their crops. Life for the average Aztec was one of hard work and deep community ties. Most people were farmers, artisans, or soldiers. Society was strictly hierarchical, with the emperor, the Tlatoani, at the very top, followed by nobles, priests, and warriors. Below them were the commoners, and, at the bottom were slaves. Religion was woven into every aspect of their lives. They believed their gods required nourishment to keep the cosmos in balance, a belief that led to the practice of human sacrifice. This worldview, so different from that of Europe, shaped every decision, every building, and every law in their vast empire. This was the world on the brink of an unimaginable change, not from across the sea, but from within. It was a civilization that had mastered stone, water, and agriculture. They were poised on the edge of greatness, their destiny seemingly written in the stars they so carefully observed. But what if they found a new force, not in the heavens, but hidden within the very materials of the earth? What if, in this world of stone pyramids and obsidian blades, a new kind of power was about to be unleashed? This is the story of how a single spark could have rewritten the future of an entire continent, and indeed, the world. Electricity is a fundamental force of nature. It exists everywhere, in the static crackle of a blanket on a dry day, and in the awesome power of a lightning strike. To discover electricity is not to invent it, but to understand it. It means learning how to generate it, how to store it, and how to make it do work. For the Aztecs, this journey might have started with a simple observation. Perhaps a priest, polishing a piece of amber with a cotton cloth, noticed how it suddenly attracted small feathers. This strange force, this invisible pull, would have been seen as a sign, a minor form of magic, or a message from the gods. This initial curiosity would have led to experimentation. Imagine Aztec priests, the keepers of knowledge and science, trying to replicate this effect with other materials. They might have discovered that certain metals, when placed in acidic fruit juices like pineapple, created a small tingling sensation when touched. This is the basic principle of a battery. They could have created early galvanic cells using gourds filled with acidic liquid, with plates of different metals like copper and gold, which they had in abundance. These early batteries would have been weak, producing just a small current, but the principle would have been established. They could create this new power themselves. The real breakthrough would come from understanding magnetism. The Aztecs already used lodestones, natural magnets, for divination, and perhaps even simple compasses. What if they noticed a connection between their new electrical force and these magnetic stones? A priest might have accidentally dropped a lodestone near a wire, carrying a current from one of their gourd batteries, and seen it twitch. This is the fundamental link between electricity and magnetism. From here, they could develop simple electric motors and, more importantly, generators. By turning a coil of copper wire near a large lodestone, they could generate a continuous flow of electricity, far more powerful than their early batteries. This discovery would have been a monumental secret kept within the highest echelons of the priesthood and the ruling class. They would not have called it electricity. They might have called it Tlenextli, the spiritual light, or Chicahuatl, the serpent's energy, linking it to the feathered serpent god, Quetzalcoatl, a bringer of knowledge. This new power would be seen as a divine gift, a tool to be wielded by those who spoke for the gods. The knowledge would be recorded not in scientific papers, but in intricate codices, its secrets guarded as the ultimate source of the emperor's power and the state's security. With the ability to generate a steady supply of Tlenextli, the great city of Tenochtitlan would have undergone a breathtaking transformation. The first and most visible change would be light. At night, the city that once flickered with the dim light of torches and oil lamps would now blaze with a steady, ethereal glow. Priests would have developed early incandescent bulbs, perhaps using fine carbonized plant fibers, or even strands of metal heated to a glow inside a sealed quartz vessel. The tops of the Great Pyramids, like the Templo Mayor, would be crowned with brilliant lights, visible for miles across the lake, turning the city into a man-made constellation. Communication across the vast empire would have been revolutionized. The Aztec messenger system was fast, but it relied on runners carrying messages on foot. With electricity, they could have developed a form of telegraph. A central communications hub in Tenochtitlan could send messages almost instantly to tributary states hundreds of miles away. Simple coded pulses of electricity, transmitted through copper wires strung along the empire's main causeways, would carry news of harvests, troop movements, or royal decrees. This network would allow the emperor to govern his domain with unprecedented speed and control, tightening his grip on distant provinces. Everyday life and industry would also have been altered. While widespread electrification of common homes might have been slow, workshops and state-run projects would have benefited immensely. Simple electric motors could power drills for stonework, making the construction of temples and palaces faster and more precise. They could operate looms for weaving textiles and grinders for processing maize, increasing the production of essential goods. The sound of the city would change. Alongside the calls of merchants and the lapping of water in the canals, a low, persistent hum of electrical machinery would signify a new era of Aztec industry and innovation. The city's infrastructure would evolve to support this new technology. Instead of just aqueducts for water, new channels and pathways would be needed to house the copper wires that carried the Tlenextli. Small generator stations, powered by waterfalls, or even by teams of laborers turning large cranks would be built at key points throughout the city. The engineers who once mastered hydrology would now become masters of circuitry. Tenochtitlan would not just be a city of canals and pyramids, it would become a city of wires and light, a testament to the Mexica's ability to harness a fundamental force of the universe and bend it to their will. In Aztec society, religion and science were not separate. The discovery of electricity, or Tlenextli, would have been interpreted through a deeply religious lens, profoundly changing their cosmology and rituals. This new power would be seen as the very essence of their most powerful gods. The brilliant flash of an electrical arc would be the fury of Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun. The life-giving flow of the current could be associated with Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, the bringer of knowledge and civilization. The priests, as the sole masters of this divine energy, would see their own power and prestige elevated to unimaginable heights. Religious ceremonies would become spectacular displays of divine power. Imagine a ceremony at the Templo Mayor where the high priest, instead of simply performing a ritual, could summon a bolt of lightning from a large Tesla coil-like device. The crackle of the arc and the smell of ozone would be terrifying and awe-inspiring, concrete proof of the priest's connection to the gods. Sacrificial rituals might even be altered. Instead of a flint knife, a powerful electric shock could be used, seen as the god directly consuming the life force of the offering. This would make the god seem more present and more powerful than ever before. The new technology would also be integrated into religious art and architecture. Temples would be wired to create stunning visual effects. Statues of gods could be made with glowing eyes made of primitive light bulbs. The air within the temples could be charged with static electricity, causing the hair of worshippers to stand on end. A physical manifestation of the divine presence. The codices, the sacred books of the Aztecs, would now contain not only histories and prophecies, but also complex circuit diagrams, presented as sacred geometric patterns gifted by the gods. Knowledge of electricity would become the highest form of sacred knowledge. This fusion of technology and faith would create a powerful tool for social control. The common people, seeing the priests and the emperor command the power of lightning, would believe more fervently than ever in their divine right to rule. Dissent would be not just treason but blasphemy. The glowing pyramids and the instant communication of the telegraph would be constant reminders that the rulers of Tenochtitlan were favored by the gods, their authority absolute, and their power derived from the very fabric of the cosmos. The empire would be held together not just by soldiers, but by a shared sense of wonder and fear. The discovery of Tlenexli would have, honestly, given the Aztec military a set of advantages that would seem almost like sorcery to their enemies. While they would still rely on their disciplined ranks of jaguar and eagle warriors, their arsenal would be, supplemented with some fearsome new weapons. The most straightforward application would be in defensive fortifications. The walls of Tenochtitlan and other key fortresses could be laced with copper wires. Any attacking force attempting to scale the walls could be met with a powerful, non-lethal electric shock, incapacitating entire groups of soldiers at once. This would make their cities nearly impregnable to traditional siege warfare. For offensive warfare, Aztec engineers could develop portable electrical weapons. Imagine elite warriors carrying devices kind of like primitive arc welders or large cattle prods, powered by heavy battery packs carried on their backs. These lightning spears wouldn't even need to pierce armor. A simple touch would deliver a debilitating shock, capable of stunning an enemy, or, in some cases, even stopping their heart. The psychological impact of such weapons would be immense. Enemy armies would break and flee in terror from soldiers who could wield lightning in their hands, believing they were fighting not men, but demons, or maybe gods of destruction. Communication on the battlefield would also be totally transformed. Commanders could use portable telegraph systems, with soldiers laying down thin copper wires as the army advanced, to coordinate troop movements over long distances in real time. A general could direct his flanks and reserves with a speed and precision no enemy could match. They could also use powerful arc lamps as signaling devices at night, flashing coded messages across the battlefield. This would give Aztec generals a level of command and control that was, honestly, centuries ahead of its time, allowing them to outmaneuver and encircle their opponents with ease. Beyond direct weaponry, electricity could enhance their existing military capabilities. Electric motors could power large drills to undermine enemy fortifications, or operate winches to quickly build siege towers. Powerful searchlights could be used to illuminate the battlefield at night, turning the darkness that usually favors surprise attacks into a deadly trap for their foes. The Aztec war machine, already formidable, would become an unstoppable force in the Americas. Their empire would likely have expanded far beyond its historical borders, its dominance secured not just by numbers, but by a technological supremacy that seemed, well, nothing short of divine. In 1519, when Hernán Cortés and his small band of conquistadors landed on the coast of Mexico, they expected to find a primitive, if wealthy, kingdom. Instead, they would have encountered something far beyond their comprehension. As their ships approached the coast at night, they might have seen a strange, steady star glowing on the horizon, an electric lighthouse guiding coastal traffic. Upon landing, they would have been met not just by warriors, but by officials who reported their arrival to the capital almost instantly via a telegraph line. The Spaniards' every move would be tracked from the moment they set foot on land. The technological gap that gave the Spanish such an advantage in our history would be reversed. The Spaniards' steel swords, crossbows and armor would be formidable, but they would be facing an army with electrical weapons. A cavalry charge, the key Spanish tactic that terrified native armies, could be stopped dead by an electrified barrier, or by warriors wielding lightning prods that could incapacitate a horse and its rider in an instant. The roar of a Spanish cannon would be met not with fear, but with the eerie hum of Aztec electrical devices and the crackle of artificial lightning. Cortés, a master of diplomacy and manipulation, would find his usual tactics ineffective. He would be unable to portray himself as a god or an emissary of a powerful king, when the Aztecs could seemingly command the heavens themselves. The Aztec emperor, Moctezuma II, would not be an uncertain ruler awed by strange visitors. He would be the leader of the most technologically advanced civilization on Earth. He would meet the Spaniards not with apprehension, but with curiosity and a supreme sense of confidence. The Spaniards would be the ones who were technologically inferior, their gunpowder and steel seeming almost quaint in comparison. The conquest of Mexico would have been impossible. The small Spanish force would have been easily defeated or captured. Their steel weapons and firearms would be studied, their ships reverse-engineered, but they would pose no existential threat. news would eventually get back to Spain of a bizarre and powerful kingdom across the sea, one that worshipped strange gods and wielded the power of lightning. This would not inspire a rush for conquest, but a mixture of fear, disbelief, and intense curiosity. The New World would not be seen as a land to be easily plundered, but as a mysterious and dangerous rival civilization. The failure of the Spanish conquest of Mexico would have sent shockwaves across Europe. The flow of gold and silver that funded Spain's rise to power would never materialize. Instead of tales of easy riches, sailors would bring back stories of a terrifyingly powerful empire. This would fundamentally alter the course of European colonization. The Americas would no longer be seen as an empty landmass ripe for the taking, but as a continent dominated by a powerful, technologically advanced empire. Subsequent European expeditions would be cautious, focused on trade and diplomacy rather than conquest. The Aztec Empire, secure in its power, would have entered a new era of development. Having repelled the Spanish, they would have studied their captured technology, firearms, steelmaking, and shipbuilding. Combining European metallurgy and naval design with their own electrical science, they could have become a global power. Imagine Aztec fleets, not of canoes, but of large sailing ships equipped with powerful arc cannons or electric railguns, capable of projecting their power across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. They would not be the colonized, but a new and powerful player on the world stage. This new balance of power would have prevented the demographic collapse that devastated the Americas in our timeline. The Great Dying, where up to 90% of the indigenous population perished from European diseases, might still have happened, but its context would be different. An organized, powerful Aztec state could have managed the crisis, enforcing quarantines and using its scientific knowledge to study the diseases. Though the loss of life would still be tragic, the civilization itself would survive, adapt, and recover. The Americas would remain a continent of powerful, indigenous nations. The exchange of ideas and technologies would have been a two-way street. While Europe would have shared its knowledge of the wheel for transport, alphabetic writing, and certain manufacturing techniques, the Aztecs would have shared their revolutionary understanding of electricity. This would have kicked off an electrical revolution in Europe centuries ahead of schedule. The world would have entered an industrial age much earlier, but it would be a shared global phenomenon, driven by innovation from both hemispheres. The scientific revolution would not be a solely European event, but a global dialogue between entirely different ways of thinking. Fast forward to today, November 30th, 2025. The world we inhabit would be almost unrecognizable. The Western dominance that has defined the last 500 years would have never occurred. Instead of a world shaped primarily by European cultures and languages, we would live in a truly multicultural global society where the descendants of the Aztec Empire are a major technological, economic, and cultural power. Cities like Tenochtitlan, perhaps renamed but still in the Valley of Mexico, would be global centers of finance and innovation, rivaling London, New York, or Tokyo. Nahuatl might be a major international language of science and diplomacy. Technological development would have followed a different path. Our modern world is built on the internal combustion engine and fossil fuels. An Aztec-led technological paradigm might have prioritized electrical power from the very beginning. They might have perfected renewable energy sources, like geothermal, solar, and hydroelectric power, centuries ago, drawing on their deep connection to the natural world. We might live in a world with incredibly advanced electrical grids, powerful battery technology, and clean public transportation, having largely skipped the age of oil and its devastating environmental consequences. Climate change might not be the existential threat it is in our timeline. Culture and philosophy would also be different. European thought, with its emphasis on individualism and the separation of the spiritual and the material, would be balanced by indigenous American philosophies that emphasize community, balance with nature, and the integration of the spiritual and the scientific. Our art, music, and even our understanding of the universe would be a blend of these different worldviews. The deep astronomical knowledge of the Mesoamericans combined with the modern physics might have led to breakthroughs in cosmology that we can only dream of. The world would be richer, more diverse, and perhaps more balanced. However, this alternate world would not necessarily be a utopia. The Aztec Empire was an authoritarian, tribute-based state with a rigid social hierarchy and a history of brutal warfare. an electrified Aztec empire, could have become a global imperial power in its own right, with its own history of conquest and oppression. The fundamental conflicts of human nature, the struggle for power, resources and influence, would still exist. The world would not be free of war or inequality, but the players would be different, the ideologies would be different, and the history that led to our present moment would be a story of two hemispheres meeting as equals rather than as conqueror and conquered. The idea of the Aztecs discovering electricity is more than just an exciting thought experiment. It serves as a powerful reminder of the contingency of history. The world as we know it was not inevitable. It was shaped by a series of specific events, discoveries and encounters, where a single change could have sent ripples across centuries, completely altering the course of human civilization. The technological superiority of Europe in the 16th century was not a permanent state of being, but a temporary advantage that allowed for an era of unprecedented conquest and colonization. Had the Aztecs harnessed the power of this advantage would have been nullified. The encounter between the old world and the new would have been a meeting of equals, one of steel and gunpowder, the other of light and current. This single technological shift would have prevented the subjugation of the Americas, preserving a vast and ancient body of knowledge, culture, and population. It would have forced a different kind of global interaction, one based on exchange and competition, rather than domination. The very foundations of our modern world, our economies, our politics, our cultures, would be fundamentally different. This alternate history challenges our assumptions about progress and civilization. It suggests that innovation is not the sole property of any one culture, and that incredible potential existed within the complex societies of the pre-Columbian Americas. The story of an electrified Tenochtitlan is a story of what might have been, a world where the scientific revolution was not confined to Europe, and where the Americas were not a new world to be discovered, but an old world that helped to create a new, shared future for all of humanity. In the end, the journey from a spark of amber to a city of light illustrates the profound power of a single idea. It shows how the mastery of one fundamental force of nature could have rebalanced the scales of history, creating a world where the echoes of Tenochtitlan would be just as loud as those of Rome or London. It is a testament to the idea that history is not a straight line, but a branching path, where a single bolt of lightning, understood and harnessed, could have illuminated a completely different destiny for us all.